On February 28, 2026, the Strait of Hormuz was effectively sealed off by a swarm of naval fast-attack craft, sea mines, and missiles. 20% of the world's seaborne oil and liquefied natural gas vanished from the market in an instant. The price of Brent crude spiked to $126 a barrel, and Asian LNG benchmarks surged past $26 per million British thermal units. Japan's energy grid operates on a razor's edge. The country produces almost none of its own fossil fuels, maintaining an energy self-sufficiency ratio of just 13%. This vulnerability is hardwired into their physical infrastructure. Japanese refineries are chemically configured specifically to process sour crude oil from the Middle East. Over 90% of that crude must travel through the now blocked strait. Cut off from new shipments, Japan must survive on what is already in the tank. Based on current consumption, the country holds roughly 182 days of strategic crude reserves to keep its domestic transportation network running before the physical supply hits zero. This physical blockade forces the Japanese economy into a mathematical corner. With imports choked and costs skyrocketing, the nation is hurtling toward a macroeconomic paradox that central bankers dread above all else: stagflation. Stagflation is a vice with two moving parts. The first is inflation, essential costs for food and housing and transportation spiraling upward, eating away at household purchasing power. Japan's power grid relies heavily on imported liquefied natural gas. With regular shipments blocked, utilities are forced into a brutal spot market, paying massive emergency premiums to outbid other nations just to keep the electricity flowing. The government deployed heavy gasoline subsidies to shield the public from the shock at the pump. But that defense cost the state 500 billion yen every month, stretching an already vulnerable fiscal budget toward its breaking point. Eventually, the subsidies aren't enough. These massive energy premiums bleed directly into the manufacturing and shipping sectors, forcing companies to raise prices and creating a relentless wave of imported inflation. Then comes the second half of the paradox: stagnation. This is the point where industrial output and economic growth grind to a halt. Japan's industrial sector is choked by skyrocketing production costs. Factories are forced to slow down assembly lines, profits shrink, and real GDP growth plunges toward zero. While high inflation and zero growth are painful, the crisis is accelerated by a multiplier effect: rapid currency devaluation. Investors pull capital out of Japan, seeking safety, pushing the exchange rate past the critical threshold of 160 yen to the dollar. Because global oil is priced in US dollars, a weaker yen means Japan pays an ever-increasing premium for that same $126 barrel, and this creates a vicious feedback loop. Basic prices explode at the exact moment the economy stops generating the wealth needed to pay for them. Inside the Bank of Japan, officials face this trap with only two traditional macroeconomic levers left to pull. Choice A is to fight inflation. The traditional response is hiking interest rates to defend the yen and curb rising prices. But if you hike rates, borrowing becomes too expensive, business investment freezes, and the stalling economy plunges into a severe recession. Choice B is to fight stagnation. This means keeping rates low to stimulate growth and provide relief to struggling businesses. But by keeping rates low while the rest of the world tightens, the yen slides further against the dollar. Imported energy becomes prohibitively expensive, and inflation spirals without a ceiling. Japan's stagflationary tightrope proves that advanced monetary policy and financial engineering are useless when a nation loses access to the physical energy that powers it.